What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us on this happy Tuesday. I am so excited to spend time with you, but mostly to spend time with Dr. Irum Tahir. Y'all are so lucky that we're not 5 minutes late in getting started because I was so excited to see her because text messaging just isn't enough for me. We were just talking about between our busy schedules, I have not made it to visit her in her new southern state. We're going to convert her in Maryland, and I'm going to have to plan something real soon because it's just really hard being away from me. So if you don't know who this beautiful soul is, and I say this with the utmost and amazing sincerity, you're going to get that out of her today, along with her infinite wisdom and helping you to replicate what she has done in Central New York with her own practice. But she's kind of a powerhouse and a boss babe. Terry, you know I'm right. Terry would be her beautiful husband of 3 years. Oh, and if you know them and you're friends with them on Facebook, their mutual love and admiration will just kind of make you a little bit sick, but all in a good way. But let me tell you about how amazingly awesome she is. She's had over 500,000 views on her TED Talk that was on changing your limiting beliefs. Now, I can say that Heather and I have watched this a million times because we all suffer a little bit from like imposter syndrome and this crazy world that we live in. Sometimes we get voluntold into things that we're ready for, but we don't quite feel ready for. And that's exactly what we need to help us get past our limiting beliefs to be able to reach our full potential. And it's just absolutely phenomenal. She has a multidisciplinary practice in Central New York. She ran and operated this amazing, very successful practice all the way from California, now from Maryland. And that's not to say that she does not spend an awful lot of time in New York, because she absolutely does. She's a graduate of New York Chiropractic College, but wait, there's more. She served as the district president for the State Association New York Chiropractic Council for 4 years. During that time, she also served on the President's Advisory Council at Parker College. One of those years, she's spoken at Parker State Association events around the country. She has treated patients in chiropractic all over the world. If you get an opportunity to read her bio, your mind is going to be blown to think, wow, how does one woman do all of these things? And oh, did I mention she's a mom to 2 beautiful boys, 2 wonderful dogs, the Bolt and Navy, in honor of her new home. And she's a consultant helping other practices replicate what she's done to be successful and have the practice of their dreams. So, Irum, I'm so excited that you're here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I love doing this webinar with you. It's like one of my favorite times of the year. So this is going to be super exciting, and it's going to be great. Yes, very cool. Well, thank you everyone for being here today. I'm very, very excited to share this very important topic here. And my goal for our time together that we have is that you walk away with something that you didn't have before, and that you are able to implement it into your practice right away. Okay. So I want you to really think about, when I'm going through the content, there's going to be some really good content here, is how you're going to implement some of what I'm going to be talking about. So we know that prescription drug abuse is the strongest risk factor for heroin abuse or dependence, and that's directly from the CDC. So why is this such a big deal? Well, we know that the opioid epidemic has been catastrophic in this country, right? And it's kind of reined in a little bit now. But as chiropractors, we're able to work with and help patients naturally without medicine and without surgery, and be able to use that first before everything else that that medical doctors can offer to a patient. 210 million people 210 million people are on at least one prescription medication. That's insane, because the population of the United States is like 303 million people. So that means really like almost 2/3 of the population is on at least one prescription medication. And I'm not saying that there's no reason for it, or that there doesn't need to be, some of those medications that are very, very important. Of course, we can't do everything, but there's a lot of people who are on pain medication. And we know that even at the most basic level with chiropractic, we can help with that. We can help with that. And so how are we going to do that? So I always say that chiropractic chose you. So I want you to think for a moment about how you decided to become a chiropractor, where on your path something illuminated and created a spark and said, you know what, I think I'm going to be a chiropractor. I want you to think back to that moment, and think back to that why. And that's one of the things that is the hallmark of your life, right? It's that foundation. And you've got to go back to this sense of purpose. And chiropractic, it chooses you. It chooses you to come into the fold and help more people. And I would say that chiropractic chose me. We have the answer to the world's problems. And in the short time that we have together today, I'm going to share with you how we're going to be working with medical doctors to be able to gain referrals and get new patients into the door, because that's where all of the sick people are. And we're going to talk about MD referrals, and we're going to talk about OB referrals if you're interested in pregnancy. But we have the answer to the world's problems through chiropractic care. This is a picture of when I worked with Syrian refugees in Jordan. And I had this opportunity, actually I created an opportunity to work with medical doctors. So there was a group of medical doctors that goes to war-torn areas, kind of like Doctors Without Borders. And a friend of mine, when I was growing up, is the one who runs this organization. It's called Imana. And it's all medical doctors and pharmacists, and they go to these different, disaster areas, war-torn areas, and they went to work with the Syrian refugees in Jordan. And at that time, the Syrian war was at all-time high. So they had all of these people that were fleeing Jordan and trying to make their way to Syria. And this group of medical doctors, 19 medical doctors and a pharmacist, were going, and I had said, I'm a chiropractor, I want to go. And my friend said, well, it's full and it's closed and we don't take chiropractors. And what are you going to do there anyway? And I said, I need to go. I have to go. I just have to go and do this. And he was like, okay, let me see what I can do. And I basically got my way into this program, and I got to work with these medical doctors. And when I first started working with them, they were thinking, why are you here? But at the end of it, in 4.5 days, I saw about 450 patients by myself. I had the translators turn into CAs, and we just had the longest line outside of my practice in that little area there. And I had tons of referrals from these medical doctors. And there were people who had said they would never, ever refer to me. And so in that time that I had with them, I learned a lot about what they were thinking. Growing up, I thought that I was going to go to medical school. That's what I was destined for. And my parents wanted me to go to medical school as well. And I grew up with the pharmaceutical reps in my dad's practice. And I started thinking there's got to be a more natural way to heal the body. Like, how come we have to give medication for every single thing? There's got to be other options. And I started questioning things a little bit. And it wasn't until I actually had an opportunity to work with this chiropractor up north, and I will never forget the moment I decided to become a chiropractor. He had a man who was a Mennonite, and they don't typically go to medical doctors, they go to chiropractors first. And this Mennonite man had chest pain in his left side, and he had numbness and tingling in his left arm and into his neck as well. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this guy needs to go to the hospital. Why is he at the chiropractor's office? And Dr. Vanier did a quick exam with him, and he adjusted him, and the guy went, that's better. And everything went away. And I said, I want to do that. That's amazing. He just used his hands and he used this table, and he was able to get this man out of pain. And I think he'd had a rib out. But it was really cool that you would be able to heal somebody naturally and make them so comfortable so quickly. So I always say chiropractic chose me, and I've really spent the last 15 years that I've been a chiropractor in giving back to the chiropractic profession. I want to be able to push chiropractic out to as many people as we possibly can. So I have a very successful practice in upstate New York. Over the last 15 years, I've built it to a point where I can operate it out of anywhere in the world. So I have taken, weeks of vacation in Aruba. I've been in Hong Kong, I've been in the Middle East, I've gone all over the world, and my practice still operates without me. And that's because of what I'm going to be talking about today, which is systems, number one. And number two, it's going to be working with medical doctors. So those two things allowed me to be able to step more out of my practice, and putting these systems in place allowed me to be able to then hire other associates and then run those associates. And so, as Christy said, I was living in California, and during the pandemic, I wasn't able to come back to New York to work on my practice. And now I live in Maryland. We live in Annapolis, Maryland, and my practice is in upstate New York, and it operates without me there. And it's amazing. So, and if I open up a place in Annapolis, which is very likely, I will use the same exact model. And what I do now is I actually coach chiropractors and teach them the same way of how exactly I've done it. And I give them everything that I've done, and being able to get freedom in their practice too. So if they want to, be in practice all the time, or if they want to be able to bring on an associate, or if they want to be able to step a little bit away, that's what we help them do, as well as leadership. We help them work with medical doctors. So we help chiropractors all over the country be able to increase their revenue and be able to grow their practice. I've done a TED Talk, like I was talking about. It's crossed 500,000 views. It's on limiting beliefs in the subconscious. Thank you, Christy, for sharing that. If you haven't watched that, definitely watch it. It's one of the best 10 minutes I think you'll use, not just because it's my TED Talk, but it really will go into your limiting beliefs and what could be holding you back from your greatness. I've had the opportunity to bring chiropractic and speak at the White House, and President Obama invited me to come and present there. I was named as one of the top 100 entrepreneurs in the United States under the age of 30. I've spoken at the United Nations, and I speak all across this country. And I actually speak to medical doctors and do continuing education for them as well. So I do believe chiropractic chose me, and I want to be able to get chiropractic to as many people as possible, which is one of the reasons that I love coaching and consulting, because when I'm working with a chiropractor in Montana or in Idaho or in Texas or in San Francisco or in New York City, I'll never practice in those areas. But if I can help you see more people, or bring on an associate, or grow your revenue, then that means that I've been able to help way more people than I ever could by myself. And so that's what I'm really passionate about, and I'm really excited about. And I just think that we have such a huge opportunity with chiropractic, and it's what just keeps me going. Only 10% of the population uses chiropractic care. And I think that's ridiculous. I think people need chiropractic more than ever, because they're more medicated than ever before. They are sicker than ever before, and they have less health freedoms than ever before. So in the chat box, if you're able to, put in the chat box, like, what do you think about what I'm saying? Do you think people need chiropractic more than ever before, like I do? Let me know. I'd love to see that. So this is my practice in upstate New York. It's a 100 square foot building. And like I said, we've got chiropractic on the bottom floor. And my dad is a medical doctor. And as I mentioned, I was going to go to medical school. My parents didn't want me to go to chiropractic school. They weren't very happy about my choice. And every day they would call me while I was in chiropractic school, and they would just say that you're making a big mistake, because they didn't understand what chiropractic was. But there was something in my heart that just said I was in the right direction, and I was going in the right direction. Even though I have been a straight A student my whole life, I've skipped a couple of grades in my life, and I actually in chiropractic school was doing very, very poorly. So for any of you who've ever done poorly in chiropractic school, I totally understand. Or even who are struggling sometimes in practice now, I can completely understand where you are, because I had that struggle. I had a very difficult time in chiropractic school because my parents weren't supportive of me, and they didn't believe in what I was doing. But I kept going, and I kept pushing past it. And when I started my practice, I started out by renting space from a chiropractor, and then I started out my own practice, and I just decided I was going to prove my parents wrong, and I was going to make the biggest, baddest practice I ever could. And so my first year in practice, I made 6 figures, and I moved my practice into a bigger location, hired on associates. I've done it before where I've had no staff, I've had no billing help, I've had nothing. So if any of you are in that place, I know what that feels like. And then I've had it where I have multiple doctors and a huge staff as well, of course, right? So, but the cool thing is that my dad, who didn't believe in me, I kept telling him about the chiropractic principles and telling him about the, more natural way of healing the body. And he made a complete 180 and now does functional medicine and is completely cash-based, doesn't take insurance. And he works with me 2 days a week on the second floor of this building. How cool is that? So that's what gets me really excited. We have the power to change people's minds. And my dad's a medical doctor. I was able to change the way that his perception was around natural healing and chiropractic. So this is a poll that I'm hoping that we'll be able to do here, Christy. But this is what I want you to really think about in your own practice, okay? This is now for your own practice. So there's painkiller pain, like I'm shattered my humerus and I need help right now, versus I need a vitamin, like I need vitamin D, I need vitamin C to keep me going and maintenance, okay? In chiropractic practice, I have found, just working with thousands of chiropractors across this country and polling chiropractors across this country, I have found that people that are in practice are most likely falling into one of these categories as a break leg pain, that they're having an issue in their practice. So I don't know, Christy, if we're able to do the poll. If we're not able to, that's okay. But if we're able to do a poll, or if you're able to put in the chat box, what is that major break leg pain that you feel in your practice? Is it not enough income? Is it not enough time? Is it uncertainty of the future of the practice? We know that with COVID, we are more in a time of uncertainty than ever before, and we have been, and we've had to live with that uncertainty. So uncertainty of the future of your practice, not reaching your goals, personal and professional, no plan of action for your practice. Is there one day an exit strategy going to happen? Feeling you're not contributing to your family income as you wished, anxiety and self-esteem issues, okay? Or chasing products to make up for lack of income, such as like oils, pillows, MLM. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like we have pillows in our practice, we have products as well. But I do believe products need to be here and chiropractic needs to be here. And of course, they intersect, of course, as well. But I want you to realize that chiropractic is always going to be your bread and butter. It's always going to be your bread and butter, no matter what, okay? So if you are able to place into the chat box, like what is that number one painkiller pain that you have? And I'm going to give you just a moment to be able to do that.
So they're submitting them both publicly and privately.
Okay, perfectly. 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 That is perfectly. And so when I've polled chiropractors, these are those major areas that we have trouble with, that we have challenges with, and I want to know from the audience, what are you feeling? Where is your break leg pain? What is it that you can't take anymore? What is it that you are just like, I'm done with this. Like, I can't stand that I don't have this. I want to know. So, and then Christy will share those results with me.
I will. And I was going to say, we're seeing a lot of uncertainty of the future of my practice. So, and then we've had a couple of people who've provided their break leg pain, which was maybe not even an option, like taking on too much staff and getting to patients to come in the door. Are they spending enough or wasting money on marketing? But there's a lot of uncertainty of the future in here.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's totally understandable, and so as I mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, I want you to, when you walk away from this presentation, I want you to have certainty at least on one or two things that you're going to implement into your practice, okay? And I'm going to provide my contact information at the end. I am also on Instagram as at Dr. Irum.
I'm sharing them on Facebook. I'll share them in the chat.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I'm on Instagram. Follow me there. I'll find you that way. And then I'll follow you back. And I'm on Facebook too as Dr. Irum Tahir. But I'll also provide you my private contact information after this. And then I'm going to share with you about how something I'm opening up just for this this audience to be able to participate in and find out more about. So and it's something that's just gonna be a cool gift that I'm going to give away at the end too. So uncertainty of the future, I definitely feel for you for sure. And I remember, being in California, even though I have the systems in place in my practice, I was so uncertain and I was so scared about what was going to happen. And I know that a lot of people feel the same way. They're nervous, they're terrified. And this is before they had any PPP money that came out. How is it going to affect my business? I remember we actually cut down our practice by 40% at least at that time. And we had to, really space people out, and people had to text from the parking lot. So there's a lot of uncertainty, but know that you're going to be able to create the direction of your future. And I want to be able to help you with that. Okay. This here is going to actually give you some certainty. So when I have worked with chiropractors, like I said, all across this nation, whether I'm working in their practice or working with them over Zoom or working with them while teaching a class, because we teach different classes as well, these are the major things that I have found. And I want you to take a picture of this if you are able to, because you're going to refer to it later on too, okay? These are the foundations for an efficient, effective, profitable, and automated practice. I want your practice to be recession-proof. I want it to be COVID-proof. I want you to be able to have those consistent practices in your business. Okay. So number one, we always have to make sure there's a healthy revenue stream that's equipped for patient care, and the structure of your business is set up appropriately. So we've got to have good revenue coming in. So one of the things I'll tell you, we're among friends here, is during the pandemic, we offer care packages. And that's one of the things I actually teach. And I work with ChiroHealthUSA, because you've got to make sure if you are doing care packages that they are done in a very ethical and the right way. But the way that I've set up my care packages and the way that I teach it, I did not have one person that backed out of a care package and said, oh, I can't afford it because of the pandemic. So that continual income that kept coming in allowed the business to continue growing and be afloat during the pandemic. So number two, you've got to make sure there's a healthy revenue stream, and that's going to tie into MD referrals. And I'm going to show you about that a little bit later. Number two, a clear patient flow and an assessment for inefficiencies in that flow. I teach a course on your pregnancy practice, and I also teach a course on low back pain and MD referrals. And in both of those courses, we go through a patient flow, going through step by step to see where the leaky buckets are in your practice and where patients may be falling away or being able to not be a part of just leaving your practice. So I don't mean the exam, I mean a patient flow that's got to be really clear and effective. Excellent team in place with clear methods of leading the team. And then understanding how to communicate chiropractic to the patient and the value of care with or without insurance, and incorporating care plans, retention of those patients. And then great relationships with medical doctors and creating streams of internal and external referrals, consistent new patients. And then we're going into hiring excellent associates, leading and training them effectively. And I think the right comp package for the associate is very, very important. Being considered the go-to expert in your city. So if I want you to become that go-to expert in prenatal chiropractic care, or go-to expert in low back pain, or go-to expert in thoracic outlet syndrome. So that's a big part of what I teach in our courses, is how to become that go-to expert, so that when people think, in our practice, in our area, it's when people think pregnancy, low back pain, they think High Point Chiropractic Wellness, and they send all of their pregnant patients to us. So right now we have about 18 different OBGYNs referring to us on a regular monthly basis. And then learn to automate and execute systems using a policies and procedures manual. And that's the part that nobody really enjoys, but it is important. Okay, so now if Christy could help me again with this as a poll. I'm loving these polls. Okay. There are lots of different methods of acquiring new patients, right? In chiropractic, I've found that this is one of the most difficult parts of a practice, acquiring those new patients into the door and keeping it consistent. So I want to ask you in this poll, right? How have you acquired new patients in the past? What is the method that you use right now? Do you do screenings? Do you do events in like music festivals, farmers market, health fairs? Do you do group talks? Do you do Google ads and Facebook ads? Do you do Google search? Do people come in from there, from your reviews? Do new patient like specials like $27 or whatever the case may be? Do you do internal referrals, external referrals, or referrals from a patient's medical doctor? So I'm going to give you a moment to fill that out. And I'm very curious to know where you're getting most of your new patients in from. And what is the method that you are using to be able to get those patients into the door consistently. And I have used all of these. I have used every single one of these, and definitely some are way more effective than others. Of course, with the pandemic, we weren't able to do a lot of these things, right? Screenings and group talks and events and those kinds of health fairs and things like that. Those all went out the window. So, if you were using those, that might have been a bit more difficult for you as well. Christy, how's the poll looking?
It looks really good. There's definitely some consistency. So I'm seeing quite a few of Google reviews, internal referrals, referrals from patients and doctors, MD referrals, Facebook ads, internal referrals. There's nothing that beats word of mouth from your existing patients.
What was the number one that, just out of curiosity?
It looks like referrals from patients.
Referrals from patients, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I've seen some Facebook ads. Just remember that this is a very safe place for you to post what you're doing, even if it's a crazy new patient special that Christy would.
That's okay. There's no judgment here.
There's no judgment here.
We have all been there for all sorts of things. So it's like, that's okay. This is a very safe space. So yes, all of these different methods do work. Internal referrals is awesome. I love internal referrals. I actually have a whole system of internal referrals that I have and that we do. But what I have found is for consistency, for profitability, and for a patient to follow through on their care plans, I believe referrals from the patient's medical doctor carries the most weight. Okay, it carries the most weight because in this society, patients and people see the medical doctor as the be all end all, and that is the authority. So if the doctor says to do something, you're going to do it. You're going to follow what they tell you to do, right? So if the doctor says to get on Lipitor, you're going to probably get on Lipitor. If the doctor says, unless you're, open and you're doing nutrition and you're doing health and you're like really focused on it, you're learning other ways of healing the body. But in most people, 90% of the people, 80-90% of the people, whatever a medical doctor says is going to go. So if a medical doctor says you need to go to Dr. Tahir at High Point Chiropractic Wellness, and that's where you need to go, and that's where I refer my patients, that's where the person's going to go, and they're more likely to stick with their care plans. They're more likely to pay. They're more likely to be consistent because they know that this is part of their plan, and they're more likely to follow everything that you're telling them to do, as well as other things as well too. And so I love referrals from a patient's medical doctor. And I'm going to show you how I became the #1 pregnancy chiropractic center. And it's actually now in upstate New York. We see a ton of pregnant women. And I'll tell you, this system, which is working with MDs and OBGYNs, I started it in my own practice first. And this idea rattled, it was back when I was still seeing patients and adjusting patients. I would think to myself, I love working with pregnant women. How can I work with more pregnant women? Because that was my passionate topic. I loved talking about it. I loved being around pregnant women. So I want you to ask yourself, what is that type of patient that gets you excited? Is it a certain condition? Is it the low back pain patients? Is it the neck pain? Is it the sciatica? Is it fibromyalgia? Is it pregnancy? Is it pediatrics? So I would love working with pregnant women. And I said to myself, I want to bring on an associate. And I have hired on associates in the past, and I have done it the wrong way. I believe that, and maybe some of you on this, have done the hiring of the associate thing the wrong way. And I have definitely done it the right way as well. Okay. So I wanted to bring on another associate, but I never wanted to think about where their new patients were going to come from again. And so I started thinking about how I was going to do that. And that's how this program really came to me. And my dad being a medical doctor, and I understand the psychology of the medical doctor, I was able to understand where they were actually coming from. So I put this all together into a system and into a program of MD referrals and OBGYN referrals. And I actually teach them 2 separate ways. So OBGYN referrals, we teach it in an 8-week class, and the next one's coming up in April. And then we cap the classes. So once we get to about 15 people, we cap the classes because we keep our groups really small. And then I also teach MD referrals, and that's done on a weekend intensive. And we teach you, there's all of the intellectual property, the PowerPoints, the scripts, but that one is primarily focused on MDs, and then there's the OBs as well. But you can become that go-to place in your area. So I want you to target your efforts, energy, time, and money effectively when marketing your practice to new patients. Many of us are like looking through a kaleidoscope. It's pretty and it's nice, but it's like it's all over. But I want you to be a laser beam. I want you to be completely laser focused on when you're targeting and marketing your practice to getting these new patients into the door. I want you to become the go-to expert in your area. I want people to think of you when they're thinking of that specialty. You know, what it is that you love to do, if it is prenatal care, if it is low back pain, if it is pediatrics. I want them to think of you because there are other chiropractors in your area. And, you know, there is competition in your area. So you can become that go-to expert, and I'm going to show you how to do it. I believe working hand in hand with medical doctors is the best way to generate new patients consistently. When I implemented this program, and of course, we only haven't had an hour today, so I can't teach everything. I'm going to teach most of everything I can, but I can't teach everything. But I think that working hand in hand with medical doctors is the best way to get these new patients into the door. And I have found that when I did it with my practice, I was able to increase my income that first year I did it by an extra $250,000. And it was awesome. And that was just working the system that I use with working with the referrals with MDs and OBs. There might be some of you on here, and I don't know, Christy, if there's a way to do another quick poll, that may have approached medical doctors and, you know, possibly had good results. So I don't know if, Christy, there's a way to say if they had, you know, if they've approached medical doctors before, if they had any results or good results or poor results. I'd love to know the audience if anyone has. We actually get a lot of people who've had tried to work with medical doctors before. They've either been pushed away by the gatekeeper, they've either been you know, shot down by the MD, or they just say, oh yeah, we'll send you patients, but they never got anything. And that's because they weren't using the nuances and the specific psychology of the medical doctor that you have to learn to be able to get in the door. And once you get in the door and that you have that relationship with the MD, you're able to get those patients in on a regular basis.
Okay, y'all should see just, it's either right below or right above the chat box. There should be something that just said polls that popped up. If you click on there, you can answer the question. If you've approached MDs before, did you have good results or bad results? And I'll leave that up for a few minutes.
Thank you. Yep, take your time in filling that out. And while people are filling that out, I'm going to share this with you. This is another screen that you may want to take a picture of. Of course, this is recorded. You can always go back, which is cool. But when we work with medical doctors, we have to be focused on these 9 areas, okay? Number 1, you must give in order to get. You must be able to go into the relationship thinking about what you can give. Now, it is completely illegal to pay a medical doctor or to give any type of compensation or anything like that. That is wrong. That is illegal. That is not what we're doing. But when I say you must give, what can you give in terms of your time, your energy, and your effort? Okay. You must speak in the evidence-based language of the medical doctor. I am a very holistic-based, wellness-based practice. My practice is called High Point Chiropractic Wellness. We have a huge wellness population. But with medical doctors, when it comes to them, they need to see that evidence-based language. And so I have to speak to them in what the language that they understand, not what I want them to be able to do what I want. I have to go for what they want. We want to zero in on our ideal client that you are passionate about working with. Okay, so whether that might be thoracic syndrome, sciatica, low back pain is the big common one. Prenatal care. You want to think laser beam, not kaleidoscope, and then you want to focus in on the type of the doctor that services those types of patients you're passionate about. So let's just say that you want to work with prenatal care, you can then approach an OBGYN, you can approach midwives, doulas, personal trainers, acupuncturists, and I'll show you in a bit like how we do this organization of it, but there's different spreadsheets you create for all of that, as well as other chiropractors. I actually teach you how to actually work with other chiropractors with those specific patients. Having a clear system and procedure to keep track of doctors you have worked with and who are referring regularly, sending in new patient information and notes to the doctors. There's a very specific way to do this. Most people just put on a fax cover sheet and send it. That's, I don't think, is the best way to do it. There's a lot of other ways that are much more effective to do it. I'm going to show you a little bit more how. Quarterly checkups with the MDs, and then great systems in place to handle all the referrals coming in your way, which is why we also look at the practice part of it. We look at your actual practice. We look at like other things in your practice that may not be working, because there may be some leaky buckets there that we may need to fix, so that when you have all these referrals coming in the door, you're able to handle them. What were you thinking with that poll, Christy?
The poll results show 54% bad results, 45% good results.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. So, you know, there are some good results, which is great. Unfortunately, there have been bad results. And I want to be able to help you be able to get good results, because when you do this right, and if it's done in the proper way, you can get your patients streams of new patients coming in and feeding not just your part of the practice, but if you want to bring on associates, or if you have a nutritionist or a massage therapist or a PT rehab area, you know, it is very, very important. So in order to get past the gatekeeper, that's one of the biggest questions that I get. Again, there's a lot more to it. I can't go over everything in the short time that we have, but what we want to do is we want to create a mutual value for getting past that gatekeeper. Okay, so I want you to write this down if you're able to. Is one of the phrases that can really help with getting past the gatekeeper is helping them understand a little bit about what you're doing. So we teach something called an elevator pitch, which is a 30-second quick pitch about what it is that you do and how you do it. And it's very quick to the point. And we practice that and make sure before we actually have our clients go into the gatekeeper and create those opportunities to present. So the elevator pitch is very, very important. But you can say, chances are that we have patients in common, and I'd like to talk to the doctors about what we're doing with the patients, so that they can understand that you are trying to help the patients. Okay, so that's one of the key things with getting past the gatekeeper. Now, again, I'm going to give my contact information at the end. We go more into this in the, I'm going to be offering a class at the end of this, where you're going to be able to learn a lot more about exactly what to do. And I'm going to be offering it to the people here on this that have shown up for this webinar as a gift to you for being here. So there's going to be a lot more information there. Number two, you have got to zero in on the ideal patient that you are passionate about working with. If you don't like working with pregnant women, try to go and bring pregnant women to the door. Right? If you do not like working with the geriatric population, and that's okay. It's okay there. Like we said, like Christy and I said, right, Christy? No judgment here. If you don't like working with certain populations, that's okay. My practice, you know, we do have a lot of older patients, but it's not really set up for that. It's very fast moving. It's very, you know, upbeat. It's quick. You know, we're just too probably fast for some of the geriatric population. We actually don't get a lot of geriatric population, and that's okay. We get a lot of families, we get a lot of pregnant women, we get a lot of laborers, we get a lot of, you know, white collar people, blue collar people. So, you know, you've got to focus in on who are you passionate about? You know, life is too short. It is too short, people. It is way too short to just be doing something you hate doing. So if you don't like working with a certain type of population, refer them out. Or just bring in the type of people that you are passionate about, you know, and then you can work with those MDs who see that same population. So if you're passionate about sports, if you're passionate about PI, if you're passionate about, you know, pediatrics, bring those people in. Let's work with those medical doctors. Let's work together to get those patients into the door. And you're going to feel happier. And a lot of you have said that there's like a lot of uncertainty that you feel right now. And it's legit. Like, I believe that, I feel that. But when you work with medical doctors, that gives you more certainty. And you work with people you're passionate about, it gives you more certainty. And so it just builds and builds and builds, and they start just kind of like breaking out of where you're at right now. So life is just way too short. You know, we've all lost people that we love. I lost my sister unexpectedly. It's 8-9 years now, right? And you know, life, it just taught me that life is just way too short, and you don't know what's going to happen next. So we've got to be working with the way that we want to, and be passionate about it, and do what it is that you love doing, right? Having a clear system in place to generate and keep track of all the referrals from the medical doctors. I'm going to show that here. This is actually a copy of my exact tracking sheet that I use. So before I ever go into any medical doctors, we use this tracking sheet and we create this tracking sheet. This is very, very important. It's one of the more like boring parts of the program. And some of my students don't love to do it, but once they're done with it, they're done with it. And what we want to do is we want to get all of the information of our prospect. These are called prospects. So we also teach sales in our courses, right? So in our OBGYN referral program, for example, my pregnancy practice program, there is a component of sales, even though there's no money exchanged and there's no actual income being exchanged or anything like that, because as I mentioned, that is illegal. But there is a sales component. You have to learn how to get to them and be able to give them what they want as well, right? So you want to get their name, their information. You want to get the name of all the practice associates that are there. And then we want to look at where the comments are. So like when we actually make that presentation and we present to the medical doctors, what happened next? You know, when you dropped off the brochures, when we dropped off the educational materials, what happened next? How did they respond? So you always want to have a really good system of organizing everything. Okay. We want to speak in the language of the medical doctor and use that evidence-based approach, right? So, for example, did you know, Dr. Jones, according to the Journal of Manipulative and Physiological Therapeutics, 84% of women who received spinal manipulative therapy while pregnant reported relief of back pain during pregnancy. There was also a significant reduction of back labor during delivery when SMT therapy was used. So this just shows how chiropractic care is so important for pregnant women. You know, this is a really good piece of research. So the research is very, very important. You can use ResearchGate, you can use the NIH, you can use PubMed, but you've got to get really good research. And the good thing with both the pregnancy practice program I teach and the low back pain program I teach is all of the research has already been done for you. It's basically all of the templates are done. You just take out my information and put in yours, and you learn everything. You learn everything of what you need to do and how you need to do it. And it's pretty cool. You know, it's pretty cool because you start getting those referrals. You want to help the medical doctor understand, you know, these are like I used pregnancy as an example, right? But these are common pregnancy complaints, right? So things like low back pain, piriformis syndrome, SI joint pain. So when I'm actually presenting to them, I go through and I say, these are the different things that you may be seeing that your patients can benefit from chiropractic care. But the trickiest part is getting in and presenting. That is the trickiest part. And if it's not done right, you know, you only really, with working with medical doctors, you only really get like not very many chances. You know, you want to be able to get in the right way. If you are thinking about doing it, make sure you do it in the right way. And I'll show you a little bit more about that at the end. This is an exact brochure that I use that explains a little bit more about, I do Webster technique that explains a little bit more about that. And like I said, with our pregnancy practice course that's coming up in April, I teach you exactly what to do to become the #1 pregnancy center in your area. And you get all of the intellectual property that I have around that. And it's very, very important that they see certain things, you know, like, for example, the research is very important. They have to be able to see professionalism in your, you know, even your Facebook pages, your Instagram pages. Like, there's got to be a level of professionalism there, you know, too, because people are searching for you, whether it's a patient, whether it's another professional. And you want to just be very mindful of that, right? So we have to make sure the educational materials are done in the right way. I'm actually also very particular about the material itself. It's all got to be done in the right way. And, when I grew up in my dad's practice from the age of 12 to the age of 22, you know, day in, day out, I was working in my dad's practice, and he had a very, very busy practice. But he also had pharmaceutical reps that would come in on a regular basis. And I understood what it is that they were doing. And they were so good at marketing. They were so good at marketing. They can't even do some of the things that they used to do back then. And they understood everything, they really understood branding, marketing, and they were in, our practice, and they wanted to push their medicine. I actually have an article that's coming out in the American Chiropractor magazine in April. I'm just going to talk a little bit more about like some of the methods that they used, the pharmaceutical companies used, that I observed and I saw, and now I've worked that into a chiropractic program so that we can actually use that same strategies with medical doctors, but it's for what we want, which is natural healing, okay, which is a holistic way of healing the body. So the other thing is that we've got to make sure that there's regular notes and follow-ups, right? So you've got to be really good with your notes. There's certain things that they're looking for to look at on a regular basis. So that's very important as well, okay? If there are questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat box. I think, Christy, they are able to ask questions into the chat box, right? Am I correct?
Yes. And if you did ask a question and you saw that it disappeared in the chat box, it's because I moved it to Q&A so it wouldn't get lost.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. So you'll help me with that at the end?
I will.
Okay, because I want to make sure. Somebody did ask a question. What about DOs? Is that a dead end? No. DOs are they're actually even more open to working with us. But again, Dr. Elizabeth, it has to be done in the right way. It has to be done in a way where, that medical doctor understands. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, okay. Very cool. Yeah. So let me know, Dr. Christy, if there's any things that you see in there for Q&A. I'll look in the Q&A section. So we have an MD and OB referral program. I want you to learn the proven system that I use to collaborate with the MDs. Again, we only had an hour today. You can't get through everything. But in the courses, we go through more specifically. We learn to use specific language to get past the gatekeeper, collaborate with the MD, and what sets you apart from physical therapy, and then how to handle objections, right? When that medical doctor says, no, I will not refer to you, how do you handle that? Or if they say, oh, I think that doctors of chiropractic, cause strokes, and they have all sorts of different things that they think, or they'll hurt people. Or I don't want to send pregnant patients to you, or I don't want to send patients to you. How do you handle that? So we have to be able to handle those objections before we go in, as well as from the gatekeeper. And then zero in on the type of patient that you enjoy helping, all the while working on systems in your practice. So we actually have a live course that we're going to be doing. That's March 10th, 2022. Okay. And you are able to register by using this link right here. Okay. And with this link, it's a special gift to you, because in this class, you're going to learn about a little bit more about how to get past that gatekeeper. What is it that you need to do to be able to get yourself ready to get into a medical doctor's practice, and exactly what they're looking for. So I believe I have sent the link, Christy. I don't know if you see that there.
I did. I just highlighted it. And I would like to point out, sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt or hijack this.
No, you're fine.
So this is the class that is advertised on her website for $197. Yeah. This gives you a way to register for it and bypass that. This is a free gift to you for participating in today's webinar. Because like Dr. Tahir said, if you've heard her, she says, I'm giving you a couple of things like, here's how you need to word this to get past the gatekeeper to schedule a meeting, because what she teaches takes many hours and we can only cover so much. So she's already told you, this is what you can say to help you get past the gatekeeper, or to help you open an MD or an OB to having that conversation with you, to speak the same language. But to learn more, you got to get more classes. So I wouldn't pass up this opportunity.
Yes, thank you for that. Yes, it is a $197 course that I've actually just given you just the link for it, just straight to it. You don't even have to pay for it or anything. It's my gift to you. I know that, right now too, post-COVID, like as much as I can help you, and I know that you'll be able to gain something from that class. You'll be able to start getting a little bit more of that confidence and certainty that you need to be able to approach medical doctors, because that's where all of the sick patients are. And that's really like what my I guess perspective is that if we can reach more of those people that are in the medical doctors' practices, we can get more people under chiropractic care, and those are good patients. They're patients who pay, they're patients who refer, and they're patients who will stick with you for a long, long time. So go ahead and use that link. It's going to be March 10th at noon Eastern. It's going to be an hour. And you will get the links. You'll get I believe you'll probably also get a PowerPoint the day before. So we'll be sending that out. And this way you have direct access to the link, so you can bypass that $197 that everyone else is going to be paying. Yes.
Man, it pays to be a dedicated attendee on the ChiroHealthUSA webinar series with Christy Hudson.
Absolutely. Just wait, there's more. Just one of the amazing benefits for sure. And then I'll also place in here our website, which is Ignite the Spark. You might have heard of it.
Here, I'll have a link to that too.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so the ignite-spark.com, you can find a little bit more about what we do. We have leadership retreats. We do these MD referral classes where, you learn exactly and once you learn the system, you can tweak it to anything. So if you learn it with low back pain, you can tweak it to thoracic outlet, you can tweak it to neck pain, and you can really get tons of patients into the doors with this. So it works, and it works well with patients all around the country. Actually, one of my clients, she just showed a picture that she actually got into the number one and biggest obstetric practice in San Francisco called Golden Gate Obstetrics. And she got in and she was able to present, and they are like referring to her, and she's got an associate. We're actually going to help her bring on another associate. So, it's very, very exciting. You can do this. There's no difference between me and you. You can do this. So the question is, will this class be recorded? No, we usually don't record the classes, Dr. Maggie. So I hope that you can actually be there. So we don't actually record it because it gets to be too cumbersome, too crazy. But if you sign up for it, there may be a replay. Sometimes we'll do another one at night in the evening. So actually, if there is in the poll, Christy, if you could help me with it, if people this class is going to be at noon Eastern on a Thursday, but what time and date is best for you? Because if we do another one, if you sign up for this one and use that link, you'll know about the other one as well too. So just make sure you sign up for this one. That way you'll be in the system and you don't ever have to pay that $197 that everybody else does. But if we could create a poll that says, what is the best time of day for this OB referral or MD OB referral course is it during midday, and put in your time zone too. Let's put it in.
Do this in the chat, because it will only let me put like designated answers. Same as today. I actually had somebody ask me today. Jay Greenstein, a mutual friend.
I love Jay.
He's like, well, when's the best time to have a webinar? I was like, well, I don't know, Jay. I've had mine on Tuesdays at 2:15 p.m. Eastern time for over a decade. I'm thinking that's a pretty good time.
Yeah, I like Tuesdays, I like Thursdays, but occasionally we do the evenings. So in the chat box, just put in evenings, mornings on Eastern time. What time on Eastern time is good for you? And we will definitely try to help you do that for sure. And here's my contact information here. You can go to irumtahirdc@gmail.com. That is my personal email. 315-406-1915. That is my cell. Feel free to go ahead and just text me right now. I'd love to be in touch and get your contact information. Just tell me, this is where you're from. Go ahead and text me, and I'd love to be in touch. And if you need anything at all, please do not hesitate. Please just do contact me and use the resources. There's a lot of free resources. We have Facebook groups and Facebook groups that we run, and Ignite the Spark Facebook group and in my pregnancy practice. And there's lots of free resources there. And if you text me this number, I can add you into the group as well. So if you text my number, I can add you in there.
I have to say, I have so much love and respect for people like you who are educators and helpers. And gosh, you live and breathe servant leadership. Terry, too. I'm not excluding him because bless it. Like, he's your perfect partner at the end of your gang. But I love how you have all of this knowledge, and you do have some amazing resources on your website. So make sure you check those out. Like, I always try to share with y'all where the best resources are, regardless of who's doing a webinar. But she does have some amazing resources. So be sure you're checking those out. I do have a question that popped up. Do you discuss how you work with the patient's insurance when the OB does global billing and the Chiro is stuck with the deductible?
I do talk about billing because I have had to do my own billing. When I first started, I know all about billing and everything. So we do talk about that, yes, for sure. Because again, when we teach how to handle objections, we're teaching how to handle objections from a medical doctor. You can use the same thing with the gatekeeper. You can use the same thing with the patient. You can use the same thing with a billing company. So we teach that sales component in all of our classes. And so we do go into insurance, and we go into billing, and we go into that part of it as well too. So I would say that it's definitely very important to do that. But
Is it weird to everybody or just me?
What's that?
I'm sharing my screen. Is it weird to everybody or just me?
No, we can see it. We can see
Okay.
the different classes coming up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I have another question for a brand new graduate doctor. What is an effective way to start marketing organically? Dr. Julian, working with medical doctors, I wish I had done this 15 years ago. I wish, yes, it can work if you're a cash practice. It doesn't matter if you're cash or insurance or anything like that. See, once the patient comes into my turf, into my practice, I do things my way, right? So I have, I have care plans. I have a largely cash-based practice as well. And so it does not matter about that. It doesn't matter about any of the billing or any of that kind of stuff too. But to answer your question, Dr. Armstead, I would say that if I could go back in time and when I was a brand new graduate, I would have started doing this from the get-go. So please make sure you sign up for that class, that 197 class that you're going to get for free. Make sure you sign up for it, because I wish I had done this. If I had done it, I would be even further along. I'd have even more associates. One of the biggest challenges is getting new patients into the door. And once we can work with medical doctors, that is like the best way to get those patients into the door. Yeah. And I'll take a look. I'm looking at the Q&A section too. So if there are any other questions, please feel free to ask.
Well, I just wanted to remind everybody, next week we have Dr. Jay Greenstein and Brad Cost talking about driving greater cash flow with data. I know how much y'all hate numbers. Unless it's new patient visits. Like, that's all we ever want to talk about in PVA and profits, revenue growth. But the really interesting thing is, y'all know I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to risk management and compliance. This is not what that webinar is about. But the reality is the OIG and the Department of Justice have been going on this mass hiring spree. What they're hiring for is not just auditors and investigators. What they're actually hiring for is IT and data people. They're investing millions of dollars into software and AI because they're able to detect fraud and abuse now in a matter of hours instead of months and even over a course of a year. And it's time. What Brad and Jay are going to be talking to us about is it's about time we owned our data. And then instead of letting insurance companies and other third parties use that information against us, let us use it to improve reimbursement, make sure we're getting paid for quality in healthcare. And you don't want to miss this. Y'all have heard me talk about the chiropractic strategic plan. This is your plan, your chiropractor, and it's about your future and the future of this profession. And they are both intricate parts of that in the technology arm of that plan. And so if you have questions, just email me. We get lots of questions about CBD, so we're going to be talking about that. How to simplify the patient aspect of the No Surprises Act. Like, what's the best way to be transparent with your fees? And we're going to have Dr. Miles Bodson, who's basically been teaching people how to do this for 15 years before we were required to do so. We're going to be talking about marketing, unique marketing for your practice with Dr. Mark Santa. And oh, wait, look, I'm going to be a presenter on my own webinar series. April is Sexual Harassment Awareness Month. And about a year ago, I was actually asked to be on a sex panel at a state association event, which made me laugh, with Dr. Cindy Howard, Dr. Chris Petrucco, Dr. Chris Totes, Dr. Michael Bagnell, and Dr. Jay Greenstein. I thought they were kidding because, you know, they all have doctor as a first name. And so I was like, what do y'all want me to talk about? But like, this is going to be funny. What they wanted me to talk about, what came out of their initial panel discussion, was how to deal with sexual harassment, because every one of your ethics and boundaries classes teach you how not to be inappropriate with your team and your patients. What they don't teach you is what to do and how to protect yourself and your team when your patients cross a line. I've taught this already multiple times. I've gotten tremendous feedback from National Board of Chiropractic Examiners, the Federation of Chiropractic Licensing Boards. NCMIC helped me work on part of this presentation, as well as Dr. Cote, who's the president of the National Board of Chiropractic Examiners. And what we realized is that y'all have not been given the power to, one, how to stop it, because most doctors who've come to us and talked to us about their situations, male and female, stated that they didn't report it because they feared retaliation and board complaints by the patients. Wow. And with their help, we're going to talk to you about how you do this to protect yourself and protect your team, because nobody deserves to be treated or harassed in their practice. And then, of course, we have Dr. Cindy Howard talking about headaches and migraines. We'll have more in April other than sexual harassment. But since it was Sexual Harassment Awareness Month, I wanted to, be the person who got to talk to y'all that day. So we have a lot of great stuff. We have a lot of new speakers. I want to thank you all so much for always providing me with such good topics of discussion and recommending some new people to come and share the love on the webinar series. So thank you so much. If you continue to have questions for Dr. Tahir, whether you're watching the recording at a later time or now she has provided her contact information here, reach out to her. Or you can always email me and I'll be happy to connect you with her, because Lord knows I don't need any kind of excuse to reach out to her because I miss her so much. I am going to ask, because Rhonda and I were talking about this, when's your next women's wellness retreat? Because maybe that's what it's going to take so that we can spend a weekend with you.
Oh, that would be amazing. I'd love. Yeah. So we're actually looking at doing our women's wellness retreat in May. Yes, it is a women's wellness. It's like a weekend, and I actually work a lot with the subconscious mind stuff that I do. So it's going to help you shift your mindset. It's going to help you empower your thoughts. There's going to be a mind, body, spirit part involved with it. We're going to be doing yoga on the bay. It's beautiful. A lot of the meals are going to be included. We're going to do just a lot of reconnecting, and that's going to be in May, and the dates are going to be coming up. I think it's going to be in mid-May. Got to make sure I don't hit Mother's Day or anything, because nobody can compete with Mother's Day. But yeah, I'd love for you guys to come to that. Yes, that would be amazing. We're actually putting it together now because we're really excited about it.
I was just thinking about that, and to be honest, Rhonda and I need that really bad.
Yes.
And it's just an excuse to spend time with you.
Yes.
But we need a wellness retreat as well. So I figured I'd ask.
Oh yeah, that would be amazing. Oh my God. I'd be so happy. I'll send the information then. So it'll be on my Facebook too, as well too. So I'd love for you to be there. That'd be amazing.
Perfect. Well, everybody have an amazing rest of your week, a phenomenal day, an epic weekend, and we'll see you next Tuesday, same time, same place, with my dear, beloved, crazy friend, Dr. Jay Greenstein, and the poor man who tolerates us, Brad Cost.
Well, thank you.
Shenanigans are definitely willing to do.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. This was a really great time. I really, really appreciate it. And if you definitely shoot me over a text if you want any information on, and sign up for that free class. But shoot me over a text if you want information on the women's wellness retreat, or on any of our classes, or you just want to chat, because I love chatting with chiropractors and helping them any way I can. So.
She loves chatting with everybody. Honestly, if you got that whole like, she has such a peaceful energy and vibe. Like, no matter how stressed you are, in the presence of Iram, it all goes.
That's
So
so
if you
cool.
think she's phenomenal online, wait till you meet her in person.
Yes. Thank you. Well, I love you, Christy. I think you're amazing. And you're the best. So thank you for having me. Thank you for doing this too.
Always. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye, everyone.